but he got out of shape and hit the wall. Less than 15 seconds into the race, while at the back, 4 cars fought for one piece of track. That left Fisichella airborne and brought the safety car out. But a move on Coulthard's 10th place left the Red Bull in tatters. And brought the safety car out again. Toyota driver Timo Glock, temporarily, until a hefty spin wiped him out of the race and brought out the safety car for the 3rd and final time. No fuel and the pit lane closed, Barrichello had no choice but to pit. That alone incurred a 10-second penalty. Things got worse when the lollipop was lifted too soon and Rubens took his crew with him. And it got even worse. Barrichello exited the pit lane when the red light was on and was later disqualified from the race. But when Kovalainen went to tear a strip off his visor, he accidentally hit the pit lane speed limiter and allowed Fernando back through. Starting 16th left Rosberg on the back foot, but this wasn't the time or the place. Timo retired and Nico needed to stop for repairs. It was another retirement for Sebastian Vettel, but this time it was in more spectacular fashion. Lost control of the car and slammed into the barrier. But the Renault went offline and Hamilton was slow to react. He definitely needed a new front wing now. Then a ride with Coulthard called time on proceedings.
As you agree with Montezemolo when he says it could be not good for Ferrari if your teammate is Fernando Alonso?
I don't answer that. It's better that I don't say anything.
But when he overcooked it on the formation lap, he nearly felt the fierce force of Flavio's temper. But when Sutil made an optimistic move on DC, he left Vettel with nowhere to go. But the McLaren didn't make it. He speared off across the gravel and careered into the tyre wall at Kampse corner. The monumental crash left his car buried in the tyres. During Heikki's first stint, the wheel rim began rubbing heavily against the brake drum. Eventually, this caused enough wear to cause the catastrophe. The tension was building. And building. Procedure got underway. And the race commenced. Both Raikkonen and Kovalainen struggled and had ground to make up into turn 1. While Fisichella hardly even touched the ground. He started from the back and was keen to make progress, but he was late on the brakes and careered into Nakajima. Both cars were out on the spot. The thermal image camera showed the hottest parts of the car. The tyres going on were hotter than those coming off. The weather did not improve. Visibility was almost non-existent. Coulthard tried to correct a slide, but it was too late. And too late for Bourdais also. But it didn't go to plan. And Webber got caught up in the melee. Sutil had a choice to pick his way through the carnage or wait for the other cars to get going again. One pirouette too many resulted in a skirmish with the barriers. Lost the car under braking on the exit of the tunnel, and there was nothing he could do to avoid poor Sutil.
Let's go and party tonight, alright?
Well done, Lewis. That was quite special. And I'll see you at the end, and you'll buy the first drink.
Good job, Lewis. And you don't have to buy the first, I'll buy all of them. Well done.
The breaking up of the track during qualifying led to urgent repairs overnight. After inspections by the FIA shortly before the race, the drivers were instructed to avoid the apex of the hairpin. A gearbox problem stopped Sutil's car running, so he decided he'd try and run the track instead. His technique could do with some work though. But he'd already lost his lead. And then he just lost it completely. And Rosberg too. Incredible. Actions spoke far louder than words. Everyone else had to think on their feet.
Okay, Giancarlo, stay out for the moment. Stay out, mate. We're not going to box. We're going to stay out to take track position. There's been a shunt in the pit lane, so it's pretty busy here now, but we're not going to box. We're going to stay out, mate, and take track position, okay?
Kimi had little to say on the matter. And calmly pointed out the error of Hamilton's ways. Hamilton and Rosberg failed to spot the red light and the stationary cars. When push came to shove, there was little to be said. But this spin and smash into the wall was a missed opportunity. Nakajima was in the points and in hot pursuit of Button's Honda. But things got a little too hot to mention, and Kazuki was in a mess. With his front wing stuck under his chassis, his steering was compromised, to say the least. And a new nose cone was no longer necessary. It was a sterling drive from Massa in the face of adversity. He was way back, but that didn't stop him. He kept tight to the hairpin and got round Barrichello and Kovalainen. Rubens was more worried about the McLaren, and neither car was prepared when the Ferrari nipped down the inside. Lap 25, and most of the field had already pitted. Kovalainen and Piquet were debating third and fourth. Heikki barely gave Piquet an inch. It was a direct battle between the mechanics of McLaren and Renault. A battle Renault looked to have won. But too much hesitation from Nelson cost him ninth. So at the pit stop, no action was taken. Retirement. There was blue sky on one side, but it was quite a different story on the other. He might have 62 podiums under his belt from his long career, but when did he master his skills?
In terms of fastest race lap over the weekend so far, you're a solid second behind Felipe Massa, well ahead of Kimi and your teammate, but Massa's quite comprehensively ahead of you. Can you talk a little bit about the balance between one lap pace and race performance, and equally between translating pace between Q2 and Q3 in view of what happened at Silverstone?
That's the most complex and complicated question I've ever bloody had.
Well, come on, use your brain.
Timo Glock had a lucky escape. Damaged rear track rod gave way and caused Timo to lose control of the car in spectacular fashion and crash violently into the pit wall. Barrichello tried to secure the inside line and force Coulthard wide. That wasn't part of the plan, and he was out of the race. Hungary proved to be too hot for some. Bourdais' first pit stop got a bit fiery. Nakajima suffered a similar fate. Next up, it was Barrichello. When Bourdais pitted for a second time, he needed to be extinguished once again.
I walked the track yesterday, and I can tell you it's even more challenging than to do it by car. I have to say I'm really impressed.
Flavio, did you walk the circuit?
No, it was run.
When Alonso braked to avoid trouble, Kazuki made a calamitous mistake. Webber wasn't flying, but his mechanic certainly was. But Sutil's luck had run out. A mistake under braking meant he lost the rear and ended up in the barrier. Kimi left too soon and took his fuel rig and his mechanic with him. But his weekend didn't get off to a brilliant start. This crash during Friday afternoon's practice cut short his running and left his mechanics with plenty to do. Until he was hit by Bourdais, while Kovalainen was going backwards after contact with Heidfeld. Nakajima went off on a tangent and hit Fisichella, and earned himself a drive-through penalty. It was do or die for Kimi. Now Lewis headed the field again. The tension was unbearable. That was it. Game over for Kimi. His car and championship were in tatters.
Slow down, Lewis. Slow down, Lewis. Slow down, Lewis.
job, Lewis. Fantastic.
Fantastic, Lewis. Great job. Great job.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about, guys. That's what I'm talking about.
He really proved himself as the man to beat in the wet. But the celebrations proved to be short-lived. He was handed a 25-second time penalty for cutting the chicane and gaining an advantage following his move on Kimi. Only the FIA steward's opinion mattered, and when the official classification was released at 18:30 on Sunday evening, Hamilton had been relegated to third. Contact with Coulthard left Fisichella on a collision course with the barriers. Nakajima and Coulthard negotiated 12th place. Badly. Toro Rosso were falling over themselves to see their man take the checkered flag. But Mark Webber pushed a little too hard. As the cars took their places, the excitement got a little too much for Piquet. Renault's gamble looked to have paid off when Piquet crashed heavily and brought out the safety car. His light went green and off he went, but his fuel rig was still attached. And just like in Valencia, he had a near miss with Sutil. Then had to drive the length of a very busy pit lane. Finally, he came to a halt and the Ferrari mechanics arrived on the scene. Amber, then the mechanic at the front said green to go. Due to the chaotic pit lane, the normally automated system was manually operated. Unbelievably, things deteriorated further. The fuel rig would not disconnect. He had dominated the race, and now he was last. But a miscommunication meant he was released before the fuel rig was. Truly slowed thanks to a loss of hydraulic pressure. Massa tried to avoid him and got in a spin. Sutil tried to avoid him and crashed. That nailed it. Fernando won again for the 20th time in his career, with Rosberg second and Hamilton third. Unbelievably, it was Renault's first win since Japan 2006, but at least Piquet played a part in it.
Careful of the fuel rig, Felipe.
Yeah. Nice joke.
Some bumping and grinding for Coulthard left his suspension damaged and got him into trouble with Nakajima. The Japanese driver was lucky to avoid a second hit when the Red Bull lost control. And DC miraculously escaped. Bourdais and Trulli were lucky not to create midfield mayhem and just ruined their own afternoons. While a collision with Rosberg left Coulthard a prime target for Nakajima. Again. A tap from Rosberg reaffirmed his crash love affair with Kazuki for one last time. Timo Glock was still on dry tyres with only 4 laps to go. He was fourth and lapping back markers. More than that, he was one man who could decide the outcome of the championship. Vettel was the other, and in the worsening conditions, he was blisteringly quick and right up behind Hamilton. Vettel reacted quickly and moved into 5th place. Advantage Massa with minutes to go. The rain got heavier and Glock was struggling. Massa came through to take the victory for the second time in Sao Paulo. The Brazilians went mad. The title looked to be his. Timo's gamble had failed to help Massa. Hamilton snatched back fifth with just seconds remaining. After almost 30 hours of racing in 2008, the title was won in the final few seconds. Ferrari thought they had it. It was just heart-wrenching. It was all about the championship. Fifth place, just 5 seconds ahead of Glock, Hamilton was crowned champion by 1 point and took McLaren's first title since 1999. Raikkonen just got ahead of Kubica. Alonso scored the most points in the final 8 races, while Vettel finished an amazing 10th. Glock kept his more experienced teammate in check. Webber doubled his score from last season. Piquet struggled to shine, and DC only scored points twice. Things didn't go right for Bourdais and Button, while 4 drivers failed to score. Ferrari consoled themselves with their 16th Constructors' title, with McLaren second. For the first time in 34 races, BMW Sauber failed to score. However, they still finished ahead of Renault, Toyota and the radically improved Toro Rosso. But the season belonged to one man.